What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for episode 8 of our handheld weekly gaming news that I've been doing here. And, well, there's not a ton of big stuff to go through this week. There's a few things that I think are kind of worth talking about or hitting on, and some of that will have to do with yesterday's video I did as well. Plus, we've got some sales happening and some availability of some other handhelds and things like that. So anyway, we'll kind of get through this stuff pretty quick this week, and we'll see what we get for next week. Hopefully some more news on some of these handhelds we're waiting for. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so first off, something I thought was pretty cool to be able to check out this week was the Xbox Insider's aggregated gaming library on the Xbox PC app. Now, this is the video I was referring to that I did yesterday at the time of making this video, where I tried this out on all of my handhelds. I've tried it out on my desktop, and really working fine there. I had it set up on my MSI Claw, my Ally X, my Legion Go, all that with Windows, and I was able to connect my Steam library, my Epic library, Battle.net, and a couple of others. I wasn't able to get Ubisoft to work, and I hadn't tried GOG yet, but for the most part, like Battle.net, Steam, Epic, your Game Pass games, Xbox, all integrated pretty well for me in the library, and was able to launch and work that. My biggest complaint so far, and we are supposed to give feedback on this since it is early for Xbox Insiders, is that every time it opens up a launcher and then you leave the game, the launcher is left open. I would like them to find a way to execute like closing the launcher when you're done, because if you jump through 2, 3, 4 different games from different launchers, you wind up with four launchers open if you don't go through and close each one yourself. So that would be nice, especially if this is going to be a big feature that, of course, is going to help drive that next Xbox full screen experience that's going to come out first on the ROG Xbox Ally devices. So there's some things here that need to be kind of worked out and smoothed out, but I definitely see the vision, and I think it has a lot of potential, and I'll keep trying it out here. Now, we already know SteamOS has been beating Windows in performance, mostly due to using less resources and things like that. And sometimes just running through the Proton compatibility layer just gives better performance than directly on Windows. It's not the case 100% of the time. I have videos of some games running better on Windows than on a Steam Deck or on SteamOS in general. But for the most part, you do get better performance on SteamOS. And I'm currently reviewing the Z1 Extreme version of the Legion Go S with 32 gigabytes of RAM. I've finished up the and put out the Z2 Go version one, but yeah, there's been a few articles on this, and there's been these charts that come out, and they're not my favorite. When I do these comparisons, I like to just actually record the game on all this and then put it side by side and look at the gameplay. But obviously you're going to see a big jump up for SteamOS in a lot of these games. Not always the case, as I did mention, sometimes, like here in Borderlands 3, Windows will edge out or get close to SteamOS. It really depends on the game, the drivers, and all that, which of course they allude to here. 800p, of course, is going to be a similar story, and SteamOS is going to beat that in most of those games. But this is something else I'm going to get into myself too, with more comparisons and testing of this. Now that I'm getting past some of the reviews, I want to do some more Legion Go SteamOS versus Windows testing, and some more with the Z1 Extreme Legion Go S that I have, and things like that, because I think it's always interesting to see. But again, charts aren't always my favorite thing. I kind of like watching gameplay side by side of all this stuff and checking it out. But yeah, obviously SteamOS doing a great job, but we do have that stuff coming from Windows starting this year, end of summer into fall, with what they're doing with Xbox and the merging of Windows, and they're cutting down those resources. So this is going to be a fun one to watch and interesting to see as we get into those comparisons in a couple of months. Something else I want to mention here this week is those Legion Go S devices we've been reviewing, testing games on, and all of that have been very hard to get a hold of. Now, here in the States, Best Buy in the past few days this week has really had all these in stock and able to be added to cart without a problem, and some pretty quick pickup within a week, and also shipping. So this wasn't the case before, but it certainly does seem like they're getting there. I'm still not the biggest fan of a lot of this pricing, especially considering the Z2 Extreme devices and stuff that we have coming out soon. So it is getting kind of hard to recommend buying some of the older generation devices. But yeah, they are all available, which is great to see here. The other thing is, I want to move over to the original Legion Go. This is the 1 terabyte model on Best Buy here, and it's marked down $150 off for $599. Now, the 12 gigabyte model is still full price at $699 on Best Buy, but over on Amazon, I mentioned this last week, they still have these available and on sale for $499, which, whether you want to put SteamOS on there or run Windows or work with dual boot or whatever you may want to do, this could be a great pickup, and you can always add more storage to it later. But $499 for the Legion Go Z1 Extreme, even with the newer stuff that's about to come out and other devices that are out, I think this is still a great grab for somebody for that price, and you could do a lot of tinkering and have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, a lot happening there. So we've got those sales, and we do seem to have these devices at least starting to be more available than they were. We'll have to keep an eye on that as we move forward, because availability of a lot of these new devices this year has been pretty rough if you've been following it. All right, and speaking of some of those sales, it is Steam summer sale time. So I'm not going to go through and suggest a ton of titles here like I might do in a dedicated video, but obviously like Schedule 1, Indiana Jones, Stalker 2, there's going to be a lot of great grabs in here. If you're used to Sonic Shadows Generations, you know what? I tested this game, but I didn't actually keep it at the time, and for $29.99 I might want to grab that one back up. But anyways, Spider-Man Remaster is $29.99. There's a lot of great deals in here. So yeah, go check out the Steam summer sale and make sure if you want to grab anything for your handheld, your PC, whatever the case may be, also to stream on GeForce Now, because they are part of this as well with their summer sale and stuff like that. So a lot of these games can be streamed as well on the cloud. $20.99 for Cyberpunk, which I've been playing through again recently on my Switch 2 and on my MSI Claw 8, which has been a lot of fun. But yeah, definitely check out the Steam summer sale. They're not the only ones having a sale though. So Epic Games is having their kind of like their epic, what they call epic sale or whatever. It's not really a summer sale, but there's a ton of games also over here if you happen to use the Epic Game Store and kind of want to scroll through. They have a bunch of games and a bunch of pages you can go through. And then also EA Games has their summer sale. They pretty much always do this every year at the same time as Steam. So if there's anything you want to be able to grab up over here, you can certainly get into that too. So Epic, EA, and Steam are the main places having kind of those bigger summer sales right now if you want to grab some games for some great prices. Of course, Steam being the main place that we check out, but it's always good to kind of bounce around if you are using various stores and see what the best deal is that you can get. The last couple of things we'll talk about have to do with the Switch 2, and it's not a big deal, but we'll talk about it a little bit. So Dbrand has had a little bit of an issue with their kill switch grip that they have for the Switch 2, and that it is apparently causing it to be easier to make the Joy-Cons kind of come loose and fall off. And I have a friend who's done this as well. He has the kill switch. I'm still waiting for mine to come. I'm assuming mine's probably going to be a revised version now at this point, but there's kind of a lip of plastic back there or something that makes it to where when you the flex that's natural that's supposed to be in the Switch 2, it actually creates kind of a pry point and makes it easier to kind of make those come off, especially if you're like trying to hold the entire weight of the Switch on the Joy-Con, which I don't really think anybody but maybe like a kid would do. But yeah, it creates this kind of pry point, and if this rubber is up here too high or not quite right, it can cause that situation more. They've had a couple of things come out, a kind of a bad apology and then a good apology, and they're going to have a replacement program. So I'm not going to cancel my order. I'm going to see if I wind up just being able to get the newer version. I assume that's what they're going to do. And yeah, so if you do have one of these, let me know if you're having any kind of issue with it, because I'm still really excited to get hands-on with mine, but I was a little disappointed to see that issue. All right, and the final thing I'll talk about with the Switch this week has to do with the screen, and this is something I pretty much noticed off the bat. I've been using the Switch 2 every single day since launch. I really enjoy it, but I get my Nintendo consoles to play Nintendo games mostly. That's not a lot of other games I'll typically play, though I am enjoying Cyberpunk a good bit on the Switch 2. I pretty much have my Nintendo consoles for first-party games, and I always have. So I'll be playing those docked into my TV and handheld quite a bit, but the LCD definitely has a slower response time, like one of the slowest response times for a lot of these. It's like 16 to 17 milliseconds, and for some games it can cause some ghosting issues, of course. So the response time, even if you're 120 FPS, there can be issues with it. Now I think Nintendo could do some firmware updates to kind of overdrive and not even really hurt the battery life the way that that works necessarily, and maybe mitigate some of that, improve it. I could definitely see that happening if they wanted to, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that when it comes to the panel. And I know there's going to be revisions of the Switch 2 in the future, from an OLED Switch 2 to a Lite and so on. Who knows what all with that. It's not the greatest situation. I think most mainstream people aren't going to notice that much or have any issue with it necessarily, especially people who mainly played Switch 1 that jump up from a lot of 30 FPS gaming to 60 or higher. They're probably going to feel and notice that more than they are like the ghosting or slower response times in most games. I think for most people like us who are really looking for that all the time, or you guys that are probably watching a channel like mine, you're probably going to notice more and maybe have more complaint about it, and that's totally valid. As far as the HDR though, yeah, any HDR is, I mean, HDR for me, especially as a home theater person, it has to be very good. And even on the Steam Deck, HDR is good. It's probably the best implementation I've had in a handheld for the most part. But these smaller devices, I just don't think they do great with it. Even a lot of PC monitors that claim HDR are horrible. And it's not just Windows' fault, it's the peak brightness and the capabilities of the panel. I'm really picky about HDR. So for me on the Switch, unless I'm docked to my OLED TV where it looks great compared to my Switch 1, HDR is off. I'm not playing HDR on handheld. I did a lot of comparing, and it just looks way better with it off. It's not great for HDR in my opinion, but you know, you can certainly run it. It works fine. It looks better than some panels I've seen with washed out HDR and stuff like that. They definitely did okay with it, but it's not something I prefer. I kind of like switching it off for handheld. But we'll see how this kind of all pans out with this for the LCD panel. I noticed a lot of the issues off the bat, but really most of the time, and for me, it's not really going to be much of an issue, and I'm already looking forward to future iterations. I really enjoy my Nintendo consoles and Nintendo games, but there's certainly been stuff around the Switch too, you know, we have to be honest, that has not been the best since the announcement and since launch, but there's also a lot of great stuff too. But yeah, guys, I think that'll do it. Pretty exciting to check out the Xbox PC app integration to the other stores and kind of what that first step is towards what we can expect when we get to those ROG Xbox Ally devices later on this year, and really kind of check out what the full feature is going to be when it comes to that experience and them trying to make Windows better for the handhelds. Of course, SteamOS continues to beat Windows when it comes to benchmarks. We've got more availability on some of the handhelds, at least at Best Buy in the US right now. As far as I can tell, some good sales on the Legion Go if you've been waiting to pick one of those up. And of course, the Steam Summer Sale, among others. Great place to pick up some games. So yeah, anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video this week. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.